This exact system will show you how to take your 30 to 50K a month info business to 100K a month or more in 60 days. And it really just goes over doing the basics, but more importantly, doing the basics well.
Starting off with the front end, every single successful info creator out there, people who've done crazy results with info, right? Whether that's people like Brez, whether that's people like Eman, everybody has huge front ends where whether it's paid media, organic traffic like YouTube vlogs, IG reels, whatever it is, you must have a solid front end. Because eventually when you have such a big front end, they need to be funneled. And that's when you go into the second stage where you either have a landing page, you either have like a VSL, where once again, you're collecting opt-in information, you're educating the prospects, you're using it as a layer of friction. So by the time they actually get to the sales call and they go further down the pipeline, they're more intrigued, they're more interested, they're more qualified, they're more warm. And that's what a funnel and what a good funnel enables and allows you to do. Especially when you get to the third stage, you eventually want to organize these, once again, organizing, adding more friction, where you're also using it as a tool to filter out prospects, right? Good prospects to bad prospects to this demographic of prospects, whatever it is, it gives you that chance to, once again, also give the necessary information to the sales team, right? So that they can do their job to the best of their ability. And with a Typeform application, it really doesn't have to be that hard. You can have a Miro logic board where, again, this shows it perfectly, where they go down a pipeline, they have questions or options that they need to go through, and they either get filtered out or they continue down to the next process. Which once again, when you actually have everything organized and you have this traffic going down a pipeline, it needs to be organized. And if you're watching this and you're using Google Sheets to track everything or spreadsheets, you must have a CRM. Where as a management standpoint, you're able to manage things accordingly. You're able to track follow-ups, you're able to track remainder payments. Once again, keeping everything very clean in a very systematic way. You can even use it as a way to, once again, filter people out. So DQs aren't necessarily DQs and aren't buyers. They're buyers at the end of the day. They're just not a buyer today. And once again, making sure your whole sales pipeline is in check from head to toe, and even able to implement Zapier automation. So again, you can automate the business and have flows that actually work. Eventually you get to the point where you're jumping on the sales call, right? This is the fun part where the dollar is actually collected on the front end. And when it comes to having a very solid inner sales process, it comes down to the basics, right? When a call gets booked, being able to have pre-call notifications on the prospect's end. A lot of the times why people get no-shows isn't a reality where they don't like you, they're not interested, they don't want to do it anymore. Sometimes it really just comes down to they forgot, right? And if they aren't reminded and if they aren't told specifically the time, the date in which they need to be there ready, they might not show up and they might not know about it or remember. Because along with having notifications, you also want to have sales assets that they can go through, right? A pre-call video, very simple, whether it's a behind the scenes, whether it's a pre-call video just made for them to go into the call, whether it's a testimonial, whatever it is, a pre-call video, you want to have a pre-call video in there, once again, to warm them up and to use it as a chance to pre-handle things like objections. A very smart way you can go about it is when you have your sales calls, analyze what are the biggest objections you're getting, what are things that are slowing down the sales call, and implementing those things into the pre-call video, right? So when they get to a sales call, you don't have to even go for that. They're already buyers. It's having a closer call them before the call, right? Just confirming them, making sure that they're ready, confirming if they watched the sales assets before, once again, adding more friction and pushing that desire higher. Eventually you get to the point where, like I said, you have a sales call, right? And then the sales process, you go through the sales process, you have a solid framework. And at the end of the day, they're either going to be DQs where you either follow up with them or you downsell them, or of course, they end up buying. There's a couple of things you want to go over. I'll go over what happens when they don't buy and what's a way you can actually go through that. But when they do buy, you want to implement offers. A lot of people make the mistake where they have an offer, they collect the payment, whether it's one coaching program and that's them done, on to the next lead. You're losing out on cash on the table. You want to have opportunities where you can upsell people, you can have continuity offers where they need a specific software, a specific service that they can do on a month-to-month basis. Downsell offers, right? Little things like, once again, softwares, something where they don't need that much capital. And more importantly, the way you're going to make the most amount of money and you're going to increase that LTV is through upsell offers, right? Whether you have a tier systemed process and a coaching way of doing things, being able to ascend them, get them to the next level. Whether they're currently doing group aspect calls where they're going to be getting access to group help, general help, being able to propose to them. Well, actually, I know you mentioned that you wanted more support. You wanted to have somebody look over your shoulder. This probably could be a little bit more better suited for you. And once again, whether that's one-to-one help, whether that's you actually doing a service for them on their behalf, giving them the option of being able to upsell will help you a lot. But for the worst case scenario, let's say they don't close, right? Whether it's a follow-up lead, whether it's prospect doesn't have enough money, you try to downsell, they still can't do that. They don't buy, or general DQs from before they got screened out. You want to have nurture. And that comes from basic things like email and SMS nurtures. Once again, keeping them up to date, making sure you're on top of their mind, and also having things like retargeting ads, right? Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Instagram ads, Twitter ads. And when the time is right for them, they are able to come back to you and they want your help and they need your help because they've been nurtured. And when you have all this checked, this is how you plug the leaks, right? Every single body has leaks in their sales funnel. And this doesn't necessarily only apply to people in the sales aspect. All right, this is a perfect image that illustrates this, where it's not just the sales, but it can also be the marketing and the sales together. And when you organize things where you have good headlines, you have tracked leads, you have strong sales assets, right? You're able to have that contact from the setter. You have a trained sales team. You have solid automations. You have pre-call flows. You have an organized CRM. You have a VSL. All of these things is how you take out of these leaks and have more money for yourself and for your info business, right? And that comes down to simply even the marketing aspect, having a poor profile optimization. You have a poor offer or packaging that doesn't actually resonate with your audience, that they don't need help with. Not using quality lead magnets, actually having good lead magnets that they can come through with, that entices them to actually show up and go through the process. Having automated tracking or sending tools and so on. There's so much more with the marketing aspect, but even the sales aspect, right? Poor setting and sales process itself. People who are calling them on the front end, not being skilled enough, not knowing how the process needs to go by. Having show up reminders. Once again, going back to this point where once again, they're automated, they have pre-call notifications, they have solid sales assets. That's another leak people have. No email flows for different levels of the funnel. As they continue going through the process, they need to have specific funnels and specific flows that go to them. No follow-up procedures. You might have a call, it doesn't go your way. No follow-upping. Like, you need to be following up with these people. Follow-ups aren't ideal. Obviously, that means the job wasn't done on the first time, but they could still potentially be buyers 2 months, 3 months, 4 months down the line as they get nurtured. And no tracking. That's a huge thing when you don't track specific numbers like show-up rates, close rates, offer rates, pitch rates. All these important metrics is how you can tweak down your process and see where are your bottlenecks. Where are you losing the most amount of people? Are you using them before they even get to the call? Are you losing them when they get to the call and you don't close them? And that way you're able to dissect where is the actual problem. Is it within before they get to the call? Is it during the call? Is it the show up rate, the close rate? All these metrics are hugely important. And again, there's so much more when it comes to the sales aspect. Even just using these examples, if you can actually lock these in, automatically you take your 30 to 50K a month info business to 100K a month or more in 60 days and potentially even less if things get done efficiently. And what this does, this is just the prime example of a very solid scaling method where potentially now you have either a 40 to 50% show rate or less. You have a close rate of, again, these are average numbers in industry standard, 21.4% close rate, qualified leads that you're speaking with, 40.5. All these metrics, once again, you implement these systems, average your KPIs will be, like I said, 70% show rates, 40% close rates, 50% qualified leads. And just by automatically doing these processes, you automatically go from 30 to 50K a month to 100K a month or more. The sales process gets audited, the funnel, the landing page, the VSL, the booking rate, the CRM, the automations, and more importantly, also the sales management. Having good reps, the correct frameworks for setters and closers, proper audits, tracking metrics, and more important, sales asset installation. So being able to implement these things where you have a solid funnel, they go into the application, they get into the CRM, and all these important factors that, again, creates a system that works. And the reality is a lot of offers out there don't have this in place, or they have it in place and it's subpar. Really, when you can dial these basics in, it really just comes down to doing the basics well, just like I said at the start of the video. And again, when you can plug these leaks, you automatically open yourself up to way more and way more opportunity where all the water stays within your bucket. They don't get leaked out. You're not losing out on money. And more importantly, you can get the most out of your people. It's a simple framework where you can take your 30 to 50K a month info business and take it to 100K a month or more in 60 days.